In this video, we pour a bucket of mud into the aquarium and try to create a functioning ecosystem that will be able to create food and support life of its inhabitants without water changes or external food supply. First of all, we need to find several pots. You may ask, why do we need mud in the aquarium? It sounds strange, but the soil at the bottom of the pond contains the basis for their life. Nutrients for plants and microorganisms that will serve as food for the animals. And the greater the diversity, the more chances to create a stable and self-sufficient ecosystem. It's worth mentioning that the vast majority of modern aquariums wash every pebble or twig before putting it in the aquarium to avoid introducing bacteria or living creatures that they think can potentially cause harm. We will go against the tide in a completely different way, and I hope that we will prove that great diversity of life in the aquarium will only benefit it. Before taking soil samples from the bottom of the pond, I always dipped my camera under the water to check for presence of life and its diversity. Look at the abundance of life in this place. It's teeming with little creatures that we really need. After collecting a sufficient amount of mud with the kitchen ladle, we carefully take the top layer of microflora of the water body, because it also contains a lot of living creatures and floating plants. The only thing left is to fill this container from AliExpress with water, and that's when a huge white duck swam up to us. It didn't allow us to approach the water and emitted a not-so-friendly sound. Luckily, in a minute it was distracted by a frog, and we quickly filled the bag with water, which we poured into our aquarium later. After bringing all the samples home, I shined a flashlight on the container and found a variety of different living creatures. Small floating bugs will be great food for fish, and various larvae and crustaceans will also somehow fit into our food chain. In addition to the mud taken from the pond, we need ordinary soil, which we can dig out from the lawn near our house. Now, let's mix everything together. Before pouring all this stuff into the aquarium, I took a piece of synthetic fiber and covered the grate of the water filter, as the layer of mud would be too high, and the filter may draw not only water but also dirt. This is the moment of truth. Let's pour this stinky substance into the aquarium and carefully spread it out to get an even surface. It contains a lot of nutrients for plants and live bacteria that will process all the garbage accumulating at the bottom into useful elements. Now, we take previously washed white sand and carefully spread it on the mud in a layer of about 2 centimeters. I brought some native plants from the pond, which I believe should be present in this ecosystem. I fixed them in the sand, so now it's time to fill the tank with water. For this purpose, I will use this tube. Thanks to its small diameter, the water will slowly fill the aquarium without raising a lot of dust. And even at this stage, we can observe some life in the aquarium, namely this little bug, and this huge creepy alien larva, which seems to be in a hurry. Look at the stinger at the front part of its body. The larva uses it to pull itself forward. Moreover, it probably can be used to stab prey while hunting. I can clearly see the creature's internal organs through the transparent shell, and I'm already very curious to see what will hatch from it. A little later, I might have seen it with an already formed head and horrible tentacles sticking out of the water. Since the aquarium is full of water, we can transfer the contents of our bowl with loads of living creatures and the remains of dead plants into it. All this stuff carefully poured into the corner of the tank, thus creating a dump of dead plant remains, which will serve as food and shelter for some microorganisms. Don't worry about its visual appearance. After all, the most important thing is that we will have a real living aquarium with healthy and independent ecosystem. Let's insert the filters and start the pump. Actually, I believe that we could get rid of the filters and water circulation would be sufficient for its proper work. Cookie is shocked by this strange aquarium and doesn't understand the idea. Don't worry, Cookie, you will figure it out pretty soon. unexpectedly, I noticed this creature on the glass. It looks like some kind of a caterpillar crawling down the glass and dragging a bunch of pieces of leaves from the aquarium. Apparently, it's a house of armor protecting it from predators. Take a look at the thin layer of air around its body, which prevents the caterpillar from coming in contact with the water, creating some sort of an air suit. It also puts an air bubble on its head and probably uses it to breathe underwater. Looks like this caterpillar eats plants, and its house also serves as a food reserve in case of hard times. When the light was turned on, the plants immediately began their growth, as evident by the active release of oxygen bubbles into the aquarium. Oh, what's that? It's a cute little snail. Hold on. What are those limbs sticking out of it? As far as I know, snails don't have tentacles. Is it some sort of a mutant? No, I think the snail's been infected by some kind of a creature with multiple limbs. Oh, we can see it through the transparent shell. It lives inside the snail and probably eats it. What's more, it looks like the snail's house is already half empty and its flesh has partially been consumed. I see that it feels unwell and may be in pain. But it's so small that I can't help it, and I even don't know what to do. If you have any ideas, please let me know. There were an incredible amount of small living creatures in the water column that moved with little jerks or bounces. These creatures are called Daphnia, and in my opinion, they will be excellent food for the fish that will inhabit the aquarium in the future. Their body is completely transparent, and we can see every organ in detail. Inside this female, you can clearly see 8 eggs that will soon hatch. Check out what happens when we bring the light to the water's surface. Hundreds of Daphnia, for some unknown reason, immediately strive to reach the flashlight beam. And if I move the flashlight, they move after it too, trying to stay under its beam. Taking a closer look, I noticed some kind of a green spot moving upwards to the light. It is some kind of a moving green dust. Could these be some creatures that are even smaller than the Daphnia? Let's take a water sample with the green cloud and put one drop under the microscope. Yes, these seem to be living microscopic creatures, or moving microalgae that need light for survival. Now I get it. Daphnia is drawn to the light, not because it needs it, but because of the creatures it probably feeds on. Look at the Daphnia's gullet. It's filled with these green circles. I was surfing the internet and found a man selling a bunch of algae for only $5, which he got after trimming his huge aquarium. Many plants would probably not even fit in our aquarium, but we have the opportunity to choose the most suitable species and arrange them in our ecosystem. I decided to choose not the largest plants, but to grow as many various species as possible. Now, our aquarium looks much better. When I looked closely at the plants and branches floating on top, I've spotted this creature. These were microscopic plump brown bugs that could move on the water and jump very high. What kind of magic is that? Let's take a look at it under 40 times magnification. It has sharp spikes on the end of its legs, which apparently cling to objects floating on the surface of the water, as well as a strange suction cup on its abdomen, with which it may fix to objects floating on the water's surface. Also, we can see 2 levers on the sides of the suction cups that push the bug into the air like springs. They look like little bears with funny horns walking on the lawn. This little bear seems to feel unwell or a little sick, but don't worry, I'm sure he'll get better soon. Well, maybe our aquarium is not as beautiful as the aquariums in the store, but it is truly alive and full of various life forms. I am sure that we brought a lot of eggs and larvae of living creatures with the mud from the pond that are yet to hatch and get into our field of vision. Also, we will try to integrate aquarium fish into the ecosystem, so that they can live there and feed exclusively on creatures that are born inside the aquarium, and the store-bought fish food can be thrown away and forgotten. I will eagerly wait and watch over the aquarium to make the next episode and show it to you as soon as possible.
Subscribe our channel, please.